Good morning, and once again, on this beautiful day in May, it's raining outside, and it's in the 30s again. I'm going to go back to Mellow Monday, to the lament. Why, Lord? Why? But hey, you know what? It's early spring, and these things happen. No, but sitting out here, and it's Wake Up Wednesday. Yeah, wake up. So, yeah, go ahead, grab your cup of coffee, take a sip. Mhm. But what do we wake up to? We wake up to a new reality as to who we are as God's people. And that is exactly what we get with our epistle reading this Sunday. It's from 1 Peter, the second chapter, verses 2 through 10. Now, just to kind of refresh our memories a little bit, the letters of Peter were written, well, First Peter anyhow, to a larger group of people. It's like a sermon that's been written down and passed around. Everybody read this now. And it talks about who God is, and it implores us to do this and do that, to live in these different ways. And then it ends with, now that you've heard all that stuff, now you know who you really are. It's kind of not like the way we usually do things with, this is God, this is you, now go do this. It kind of gets the order a little inverted, but in a very beautiful way. Now, in what we have in our reading for this coming Sunday, I'm going to turn to it real quickly. And look how it starts. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow into salvation. See, now, what's happening here in this passage is you see this newborn language, and that's something that Peter is big on in his letters. He uses it quite often. But evidently, these are very young Christian communities that he's writing to, and he's saying, hey, you know what? You've been away from the fold, and now here you are. Go ahead and just slobber up all that milk you can. You need it. You need it. And it says, if indeed you've tasted that the Lord is good. Yeah, so continue doing it. Grab all the goodness that you can. And then what does he go on and do? In the next 9 verses, he basically tosses out at them scripture passage after scripture passage after scripture passage. And remember, this is Old Testament stuff for us. Yeah, and for those people back then, it was totally brand new, because a lot of the people that he is addressing are not of the Jewish tradition. They are Gentile believers. They are Greeks that often spoken about in the book of Acts. You know, the Greeks, well, those are basically everyone who isn't Jewish. So it's kind of interesting that he does that. And some people say, well, why is he doing that if they've never really been embedded in the scriptures all that much? I think it's Peter's way of saying, hey, you are part of the family now. You're part of the fold. In fact, at the very end, he does say that. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. All right. So, what are all these passages that he alludes to? Well, right off the beginning there, when he said the talk about tasting that the Lord is good, I have to look up my notes here because there's an awful lot going on. That's from Psalm 34, verse 8. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Yeah. Happy are those who take refuge in him. And then there's a quotation that comes up next. See, I am laying in Zion a stone, a cornerstone chosen and precious. And that's quoting from Isaiah, the 28th chapter. You have another quotation from Psalm 118:22. The stone that the builders rejected has become the very head of the corner. He quotes that. Then he makes another quotation, a stone that makes them stumble and a rock that makes them fall. Well, we've seen Jesus say something to that effect in the Gospels, but we don't know where that quotation comes from in the Older Testament. It's kind of a mystery. It could be another writing that we don't have, but that's definitely something that Jesus made reference to. Proclaim the mighty acts. Now you're talking about the whole Exodus story. So you're not going to quote all of Exodus in just a couple of verses, but that's what is being alluded to. But also Psalm 77, 78, and 105, they all make reference to the mighty acts of God. So again, the Psalms. And it all builds up even more and more. And there's other Old Testament references that are kind of alluded to in this, but it ends in a beautiful place in chapter or verse 10. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. This is quoting directly from Hosea, the 2nd chapter. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. So all these verses kind of piled up one after the other. We're not reading anything new. We're reading stuff that we have in our scriptures. And evidently, this is what Peter is passing on to these new communities of Jesus followers. Because remember, they're not called Christians yet. They've become part of the Jewish family. Yeah, because it was just Jews who believed in Jesus and Jews who said, no, he's not the Messiah we're looking for. We're still looking. They had those two different camps. And but what's the beautiful thing is, the author here of Peter, First Peter, is saying, hey, you're part of the family now. And that's something we all need to hear. We all were once distanced from God. God is the one who has come to us. And how has he come to us? To bring us into the fold, as it's talked about so much in the Older Testament. He's come to us in the person of Jesus. Put your faith and your hope and your trust in him, and you will see what a difference it makes in the way we live as God's people. Because we indeed, as the prophet Hosea said, we are God's people, because he has taken us unto himself. All right, well, yeah, it's a crazy thing. All these different references to the Old Testament just packed into these 9 verses that we have for our second reading this Sunday. And that kind of summarizes, we're going to be leaving, I believe we'll be leaving 1 Peter after this and moving on. But I think I need to get moving on too, because the rain is pretty much stopped out here. Guess what I have not done yet? I haven't let my chickens loose. Now, I didn't want to be standing out there in the rain and doing it. So now I'm headed out there, let them have their fun outside, because even though it's cool, they are out there. They're finding the bugs everywhere. They love it. God's blessings be with you. And in spite of the rain, enjoy your day.